Welcome back to the second devlog. I know it's been a while. I apologise for the delay with the video. It's been Christmas. I hope everyone's had a fantastic Christmas and a very happy New Year. I'm just got back to uni, so I can now start on getting games together again or getting on the work of the game. I did do some stuff over Christmas, and I thought this would probably be the best time to share it, to be honest. So this video, I'm also trying a new editing style because with the last video, I felt that possibly, I don't know, I didn't like the style of it, so I'm just going to be experimenting with different video styles. This video is basically just going to be me going through what the game was previously, or I had plans for, what the original design was, and how I've changed the designs to hopefully improve the game's mechanics. All of this is very fundamental work to build the actual game up from the ground, and, you can't really run before you can walk, some might say. Basically, I will start with what the game's objective was originally, or what do you do during the game. So originally, the main aim of the game, you did tasks throughout the game. You would do tasks. You do building totems, digging holes, and upgrading the base. None of this really makes sense, obviously now, but back then I was like, okay, the building totems could be referenced to, you build the totems to protect yourself or add some kind of experience to a bar. The bar, if you get a high enough percentage, it would defend from the angel. But then that didn't really make much sense, as that you're not actually fighting the angel, because I'm sorry, I don't think I've got the skills for a fighting mechanic game yet, but that can come in a later game. Also, when this game is obviously, as I've said in the past, it's story based. Adding fighting to it might improve it, but not at this stage. This game is very obviously you're playing all of this to get to the end to further understand the story that I'm building. Anyway, secondly, there was obviously the digging holes. Digging holes was supposed to be where you could then put spikes in or something like that, or I don't know, gathering materials. Digging holes basically meant gathering materials. Then I thought again, and that this links to upgrading the base, are you fighting the angel? No. It shouldn't be. There's not going to be this thing at the end where the angel's going to attack you and you've got to do tasks during the attack to survive it. It's just going to be it's going to be binary options. It's either a yes or a no. Are you going to kill it, or are you not going to kill it? I took on a reference from Choo Choo Charles with this. I like the way that at the end of the game, yeah, sure, you can even if you haven't got all the stuff, you could probably kill it, but it's so unlikely. And I like the way they designed it, because you're shooting it, and if you haven't played the game properly and gone through and collect all the things, you're just not going to kill it. You might get really close, and maybe you don't need that much more, but you still have to play the game. And I think the original idea of this was supposed to make the game a little bit longer, make it more, basically add to the length. But then I thought about it. You wouldn't really want people playing, 15 minutes in. Let's say your game is half an hour long, you're 15 minutes in, you're like, this is boring, because they're going to leave, and they're not going to get to the end, and so there's no point in having all this stuff to get to the end when nobody gets to the end, because of the stuff you've added. So yeah, I basically got rid of all of that, and changed it completely, so there is now a completely different method to how the game works. So I was brainstorming on Adobe Illustrator, as I probably should use some other mood boarding program, but I thought Adobe was pretty good for this. And I went through and I kept on drawing things until I got to an idea that I was comfortable with. And this is where I decided there would be a two-part goal rather than these three different things that have no relation. So a two-part goal from how I changed it to is you'll go about and you'll have 3 minutes each day to collect, say, a certain amount of items. That each of the items will be related to building totems, but these totems are, you're building these totems because they're going to do something and they'll have meaning, rather than before it was just like, oh, they could add something to the XP. No, they're going to do stuff this time. It gives a lot more meaning, I feel, to doing the task. And also, the biggest reason I put this time limit there is because if you're not timed, there's no pressure. And I feel that time is such a useful tool when it comes to horror games, because you need that pressure to make the player feel stressed, tense, and then obviously the existence of the cabin is a good checkpoint to relieve that stress. So you're not just constantly, you know, however long this game is going to be, I'm aiming probably for about 30 minutes, maybe 15. Probably 30 if you fail. But the cabin acts as a point to not have 30 minutes where your heart is beating at 100 bars an hour. So, and all throughout this, there's obviously, actually no, I'll come to that later. So for the second edit, it was a change to the story, which was probably the biggest issue. So I found that the storyline, what was that? The storyline didn't really make much sense. So originally you were just like, I think, a random dude who's woken up in this woods, and you're trapped there by this opening in the sky. But you're there and you forget every week while you're there, or why you're there, sorry. And then the plot twist at the end is, oh, you just got to the same point again, and the angel's going to reset you, and it's this like sadistic torture method. But then I thought, as cool as that might feel interesting, but then at the same time, there's no purpose to it, and it doesn't really evolve into anything. If you're just going to be stuck there for eternity, it also, like, when you finish the game, you feel no form of satisfaction. All you've done is play through some tasks, get a cutscene, and reset, and that's it. And I personally feel that would not be very satisfying. I feel also when I'm writing horror stories, which are on the side, I always intend to now make it relatively a good ending, or at least some ending that's finalized, not this repeating nonsense, because whatever. Because we just why? Otherwise, people will play the game. They won't recommend it because it's like, yeah, the tasks are boring. Then you get the cutscene. The cutscene's quite cool because the cutscene that better be cool. That's the aim. But I will probably show little sneak peeks beforehand. But I don't know. I'm not sure yet. So going back to the game storyline. So that was the previous storyline. That was the issue. Now you have been again. You're trapped there. When you wake up in a cabin, you're trapped there by an opening, and you've been brought there. And in some method, I'm going to introduce this to the player. Like in the beginning, it'll be like some kind of text read or some kind of cutscene that says you've been brought here, you're trapped, and you're going to be fed to an opening in 3 days. And this links back to the task. So you've got 3 days. Each day is about 5 minutes long. If you fail a day, or you fail the task for one day, it will take time off the next day. And I think this is very important because it adds some kind of like failure that isn't actually failure. It just makes the game harder. And also adds a bit of diversity to like how, because every game then won't be the same necessarily. And obviously all the objects might change as well. Just to, again, diversify things a little bit. So, but back to the plot. So you've got your human, you're imprisoned, you're trapped there, you're going to be fed in 3 days. That adds some kind of tension to the plot, rather than, you're just there. You keep waking up, you keep forgetting. And you'd think, but then it also came, why were you forgetting? It was just doing it for the sake of doing it? No, there needs to be a deeper meaning to it. Because obviously the whole idea of cosmic horror is maybe it's a case of we don't understand why we should be scared, but we just feel scared. Same with just instinctual horror as well. Oh, guys, I'm definitely going to do a video on that actually. Oh, that'll be the next video. The different types of horror, because that sounds quite fun. Anyway, back to the video. I'm probably gonna leave all this in because I'm feeling perhaps a raw video is better than super edited at this point. But if not, then I can just go back to how it was before. So the whole purpose of the totems, going back to the totems, this now links in with the new storyline. You are given an option to kill the seraphim, or at least, make it fuck off, basically. By building these totems, if you build all of them by the end of the game, huge spikes or something will come out of the ground, kill or harm the opening that makes it go away, and that gives a clear goal behind the player's actions. Again, all this will be explained to the player at the beginning. It won't say specifically what happened, it will just say build the totems, survive, something like that, because obviously short sentences, more impactful, more horror, and that'll be that general idea. And then for the third thing, the issue was milestones. So previously, I would have said there wasn't particularly milestones to follow. I was still just stuck on the design of the game, and if you don't get past the design, you can never get onto building the game. Obviously, I prototyped as well, but I probably should have started with the design just to make it a little bit easier. But I have prototyped a few things that I probably show on screen at some point. Might even do it now. If it's up on screen now, then I added it in, obviously. Anyway, milestones. I didn't have any, but now I intend to build the game in 5 parts. Obviously, a lot of studios do this, and obviously you have to set yourself in some kind of direction. Otherwise, you just get stuck and just going in all different. And there's no format to it, and it's not organised. So the first part of all this will be the design, which is the stage I'm currently on. The design is almost finished. I reckon a week more, and I should finish with the design, and then I can move on to the big stages, which is stages 2, 3, and 4 are going to focus on building up each night. So stage 1 of development, or stage 2, sorry, will build up the first night. I'll build all of the mechanics surrounding that. Using those mechanics, I can then use them in the 3rd stage, which will speed up stages 3 and 4. But then the focus is on making sure each night is different. And by giving each of night a different stage of development to work on, it should mean that I am more diverse with how each night is. It's very similar to like FNAF. Each night there's something new. There'll be a new animatronic, or there'll be some new mechanic that you have to face, and this just keeps the game interesting. It flows. And also like a linear style of gameplay. It's just night 1, 2, and 3. And lots of games use this to lots of success. I personally don't like this game, but Granny uses it, and I think that's another good thing. The way they do it, they put pressure on the player if you die, and it also works as a life system for that game, which is cool. And then on stage 5 will obviously mostly focus on polishing and marketing, and all of this gives direction, and I think it works as a very good motivator for me. This YouTube channel itself is mostly also used for motivation. Eventually, when I have, more to show, I can start using it for marketing. But currently, it's just for motivation. If I hold myself accountable for uploading videos and like telling people what I'm doing, I'm more likely to do it. Because obviously, I've got 3 years until I finish. But I think the biggest problem I'll probably have to face until then is those 3 years I have no pressure to make a game that sells. So therefore, there's no reason to put a game out. But in the long run, if I put games out now, go through all the process of releasing on Steam, marketing, seeing what works, then when I actually have to make games that produce a lot of money, then I should be a lot better off than if I was trying to do this 3 years later with all the knowledge. But I think it's good to have experience releasing games before you get to the real world. Anyway, for the 4th and final issue, I am coming to the end of my point. I apologise for the waffle. I needed to explain how my new gameplay loop will add the horror element of the game. Because, again, it's a horror. This whole franchise is going to be about horror. And so this gameplay loop needs to revolve around it. So why should you be scared? Why should you feel pressure? Why does the time cause pressure, or the time limit cause pressure? Well, that's because of the big bastard in the sky who is going to be the Ophonym. I've chosen the Ophonym for this game mainly because of my limitations in modelling currently. Hopefully when I get to a stage where I'm comfortable to do the Seraphim, I will do the Seraphim. But the Seraphim I feel is a huge, that is the biggest of all of the biblical archangels, and I want that to be close to perfect, pretty much. So that won't come until at least the 3rd game that I release. Maybe the 2nd game. I could put it in there. But, again, it all depends on the modelling skills and how I develop with that. So, back to why this adds a horror element. My aim is going to be to, each night, you'll see more and more of the Ophonym. The more you see of the thing that's going to kill you, the more pressure you have to escape from it, in my opinion. So if you have the Ophonym in the sky, there will be fog, and each night it will get lower and lower and lower, or you'll see chains floating around through the fog that are connected. And this could also add a little bit of intensity to while you're running around. You don't want to be hit by the chain, because if it feels you, it will kill you. Also, the fog itself is supposed to act as a kind of barrier. If the fog is there, the player will feel hidden. It might also be a sense of, oh, I can't see what's going to kill me, but that thing then can't see me. And that's kind of my idea of also adding the fog in the sky as well. So I think I've gone through the amount of time limit for each night. If you don't find the items the next day, you have less time. If you get to the third night and you've not got all of the items, what happens? Well, to punish the player for failing, I simply reduce the time they have the next night, as I've said. But by keeping the timer short and the materials bigger, because obviously each night you still have to get all of the materials. They'll be out of 5 for 3 nights. And regardless of time limit and time reductions, you'll still need to have 15 different materials by the end to have all 3 totems built. This will avoid dragging out simple gameplay and encouraging players to get to the end. But anyway, if you fail all of this, well, obviously you die, but there will be a 4th secret night where, again, if you fail, instead of immediately dying, the player will be given a chance to escape from the Ophidim. So the Ophidim will dip just below the fog, and it will start launching chains down from the sky. And wherever you are, the aim is to get back to your cabin, sleep, and get to day 4. Day 4, you'll have like an extra 2 minutes to collect everything, build all the totems, and this will add that like super high intensity to the end of the game, which also should add to a climax, because obviously with a story, you have to build up suspense to get to an interesting climax. The climax itself could be in different places, which is why I think this 4th night, it could be the 3rd night, it could be the 4th night. The 4th night will just be more intense, and I think therefore more exciting. So yeah, this is generally the ideas I have for the game now. They might change a little more in the next week, but my next video will probably be not a devlog, because I want to broaden some of the videos and just do some stuff that I find interesting. I'm going to make videos on talking about each of the biblically accurate angels, what makes them scary, etc. And then I'm also going to make a video on, this will probably be the next video, which obviously I only thought of during this video, making this video, but going through all different types of horror and why I've chosen cosmic horror, because I just think it'll be interesting. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you like the raw, and this will be largely unedited, as I said. I've spoken for 17 minutes, Jesus Christ. If you're still watching, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.